From Notjustboxing here with Dan Morley. How you doing, Dan?
I'm good, Ash. Very good, man. Happy to be here. I only just landed like an hour ago. I come straight to the I went to Mike Tyson's boxing gym, and I come straight to the open workouts. So yeah, straight in.
Was there anyone at Mike Tyson boxing gym?
Jai Opatai was training there, so I see him only briefly. I was catching up with Wally Downs, who's got me over here. So. Straight in, but it's a mad experience.
Did you say that you saw Jai as well when he was training in London too, right?
Yeah, I see him. He was training at Churchill's on his last spar was last Friday, so I went down there with one of my managers and got to see the last spar. And I really rate Jai. I think he's class. A southpaw puncher. He's got that vicious streak. And watching him up close. I mean, I've seen loads of good fighters spar, but watching someone at the top of their game up close and just seeing all of those tricks was brilliant, man.
Obviously he's fighting Jack Massey. A lot of people think it's a clear win for Jai. Jack is a tough cookie though, and he's just had a brilliant win against Isaac.
Yeah.
What's your take on it?
I think it's one Jai will win, but like you say, I think of all the British challengers he's faced, this is definitely the toughest one. Massey is very durable as well. So I rate Jai as the best cruiserweight in the world. I think he's class. I think Zerda has a belt now as well, doesn't he? So there's a few other good champions, but I think Jai is the best, and I don't think he's going to blast him away. We see in the Bradis fight that he can go the distance twice, and Bradis actually started getting to him late. So I think we could see maybe a late stoppage. Jai's got that vicious streak, because I know Massey boxed Parker. He's got that vicious streak that I'm not saying Parker doesn't have it, but Jai has it. So maybe a late stoppage with his class skills and that vicious streak, or a point swim.
So next on the card, we'll talk about Sky Nicholson. She's facing Raven Chapman.
Yeah.
On paper, very good fight in terms of styles. Sky's obviously a great boxer, and Raven's just going to be on her all night, chasing her down. How do you see that going?
Yeah, Raven used to come down to the booth gym all the time before. I don't even know if it was before she was pro, but definitely before she was fighting at this level. And she used to spar Shannon, Courtney, Ellie Scottney, so I used to see her quite a lot. And she's game, man. She would always get stuck in. I always thought she was a really good fighter, just sort of being there and watching her. So stylistically, for Sky, who's class, and again, like you say, maybe lacks that pop to keep Raven off, but it makes her a good fight. To be honest with you, I don't know enough intricate details about either of their styles to predict a winner, but it is a good stylistic clash from what I've seen from Raven in the gym and Sky with her slick style in the fights.
Yeah, so Ben Whittaker, he's got a very good fight. It's a great story with his opponent, what he's been through the last year. I don't know, do you know much about that?
I don't know anything. Tell me, enlighten me.
Long story short, from what I've seen with other interviews, he's actually come back to boxing only this year, and he had lots of troubles out the ring. Since then, he had a split decision loss to Lyndon Arthur, where he took the best shots off of Lyndon. And when you want to compare power, Lyndon Arthur can bang, and Ben isn't known really as a puncher. So that's a big accomplishment for him. He's blasted out a couple other people this year before that loss. But yeah, he's a good fighter.
Yeah, well, I mean, how many fights has Ben had now? He hasn't had that many, has he? They're stepping him up to decent levels.
Yeah.
What else he had, about 8? 8, 9?
Let's have a look. Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean...
so it's early in his career.
Yeah, when you consider, other people in their 8th and 9th fights, they won't be fighting that same level.
8-0-5 knockouts.
8-0, yeah, there you go. He's got that Olympic pedigree. I knew of Ben in the amateurs because I boxed Lewis Richardson, and Lewis Richardson absolutely bashed me to pieces. And then he boxed Ben, and then Ben picked him apart. So I've always really rated Ben. I think he's class. like you say, I need to go home and do my research because I only just landed. But with this fella obviously being tough, a good step up.
So one thing about Liam, even though he's not a complete boxer, he's game.
Yeah.
And I think it is a big step up for Ben.
Yeah.
So I think, looking at it, he will cause a few problems, but Ben's style, he's so elusive that he is levels above.
No, he's brilliant. I mean, on a stylistic approach, people say about the power, but you know, he's still adapting to the pros. So he's pretty early on. I don't think he will ever be that massive knockout puncher like Beterbiev. Like you say, he'll face some problems, but...
And would you say, obviously, you know boxing so well, you don't necessarily need the power, it's the shots you don't see coming. I think Ben, with that nice sweet left hook he's got, there's probably still shots that he can cause a lot of issues with, right?
100%, and like he's experienced as an amateur. Do you know what I mean? He knows how to wind people up and get in the heads, and he's elusive. So if you can't hit him and he just keeps picking you to pieces time after time, then that can get to you mentally. You don't always need to be knocked out with one punch. You know, it's that accumulative effect that can just do people. I think of Nicolino Loche. I think he had like, the Argentinian always used to move his head. I think he had like 14 knockouts, and he won the title via stoppage because the geezer just couldn't hit him. He wasn't really laying into him that much himself. So there are instances in boxing where, you know, boxing is about hitting and not getting hit. It's not necessarily a knockout sport. I think he has enough power to keep people honest. And like you say, if people can't see the punch coming, then to hurt him, we've seen that. We'll see how that continues as he goes up the levels. But yeah, when you're as skillful as he is, it's, you know, it's difficult to beat someone like that.
How far away is Ben to fighting the likes of Josh Boazzi, Willie Hutchinson? Do you think he's getting closer to that already? I know it's only his ninth fight now.
Yeah.
Would you say he is probably going to be fast-tracked and we will probably see these domestic fights sooner rather than later?
You never know. I mean, with Turkey Al Sheikh, maybe. The fights with the high risk that wouldn't have happened, we've just seen Boazzi versus Hutchinson. So I would say yes in that regard, because there'll be good money for it and these fights are starting to get made. How far is he? I think, like you say, he hasn't had that many fights. Pardon me. But with every fight he takes, it's another step closer to that. I would like to see him in... I mean, you still got like guys like Dan Aziz on the scene, as far as I'm aware. If he's not on the scene, you can edit that out. But, you know, there are a few steps to that Joshua Boazzi level that I think, if I was guiding someone, I would take those fights first. You know what I mean? You don't want to go straight into a Joshua Boazzi fight or that kind of ilk after sort of 9-10 fights, but gradually keep building his experience, and kind of go up the levels bit by bit. You don't need to jump straight into that fight. So
Dan Aziz is fighting Louis Edmondson on the 19th on the Boxer card.
Yeah.
Obviously Dan Aziz, since losing to Josh, he had that poor performance recently. Would you say the likes of Dan Aziz would end up being a stepping stone for Ben when the time's right?
No, not a stepping stone. But if you want to get to that level, you've got to beat those fighters. So, you know, it would be an interesting fight that at this stage in his career people would be interested in. If there was a title on the line, I don't know, like, you know, an English or British, I don't know. Then no, you wouldn't put him in as a stepping stone, let's say. But, you know, if he's ultimately going to reach the levels people think he's going to reach, he's going to have to beat those fighters on the way there. So you could say that's a stepping stone, but
it's still a very tough fight.
It's a competitive, tough fight. That, you know, Dan is a lot more experienced as well, and he's a hardened pro that's been at this for years. You know, and those fights can be very risky as well. You can ultimately fall, you know, on those fights. We've seen that happen all the time with Olympians in recent years. You know, they take fights people thought they'd win, and then they lose. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's a stepping stone, but I'd like to see those fights happen. You know, I think lots of prospects, they don't take risky fights, and you know, I as a fan of the sport and as a fighter myself, if I've ever been offered a risky fight, I've taken it, and the one example I've won it. So, you know.
Mm-hmm. Great. So the main event.
The big boys.
The big boys.
Yeah.
It's been mixed emotions here the last few days. It's split down the middle.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Oh mate, I'm split down the middle. I change my mind every day, you know. I mean, firstly, I'm so buzzing I'm here, because this is the biggest fight in boxing by far that you can make. I think I haven't been as excited about a fight since Canelo Golovkin. And I know we had Spencer Crawford, but I always fancied Crawford. Canelo Golovkin I didn't really know. This one I have absolutely no idea. I genuinely change my mind all the time. Initially, I thought Bivol because after the Canelo performance, where Canelo isn't as strong as Beterbiev at light heavyweight, but he wasn't budged at all. But also like Zerdo Ramirez, he's bigger than Bivol, so Bivol can stand his ground as well as punch, as well as box. I think people are labelling him as a bit of a light-fisted boxer, but that's not the case in this fight. And I think, on the contrary, with Beterbiev, people are labelling him as a bit of a ponderous slugger. Whereas the guy, I think he lost like 5 fights out of 300 amateur fights. He won the World Championships. Having watched him specifically, he's unbelievable the way he gets in and out of range so well. His jab doesn't need to be loaded up. He just pings it, knocks your head back. He's so strong, but he's so good at just wearing you out without doing anything. So yeah, I still haven't answered the question.
You don't have to give an opinion.
No, but I feel like people are. They think Bivol is like a moving punter, which he absolutely is. But he also takes shots on the arms, like catch counters, like you see with Canelo. Like he will stand and hold his ground.
But a lot of people are saying, when you look at Bivol getting backed against the ropes by Canelo and Zinad, then you wonder if Beterbiev's got him against the ropes. Yeah. Is it going to be a different answer? Yeah. A different conclusion. Sorry.
I think Bivol has not only the skills, but the strength to keep Beterbiev off for a time. But Beterbiev has the strength to wear him down, but the skills to wear him down over the long rounds as well. So if I was going to go out and just make a prediction, I'd probably say Beterbiev either on points with a few knockdowns late on when he starts wearing Bivol down, after Bivol starts well, or a late stoppage Beterbiev. But you watch now, Bivol's going to go and perform a masterclass.
Yeah, well, boxing wins. It's so cliche, but it is true. This fight, I agree with you, this fight is the biggest of this magnitude, but also it won't do big pay-per-view buys. This is no Ryan Garcia fight. It's crazy how you've got 2 elite fighters in the best in the division, becoming undisputed for the first time in 25 years since Roy Jones, and it will probably do half the pay-per-view buys of Tank Garcia. I mean,
it will do well within boxing circles, like boxing fans. This is like a mouth-watering fight. As I said, this is the best fight you can make. But yeah, they don't necessarily appeal to the casuals. I mean, Beterbiev with his knockout, they do have a little bit of a niche for a fight of this level, whereas like it's not going to be a complete dud on a pay-per-view thing. You know, whenever there's a fighter that's got 100% knockout ratio, everyone jumps on that. Casuals, and you know, they love that. So, and Bivol beat the star of the sport in Canelo. So both of these guys are pretty well known, and they have been for a while now. I mean, they've absolutely been dominating, especially Beterbiev, for a lot longer than they've been known. But neither are trash talkers. They're both humble. Yeah, the fight speaks for itself if you're a proper boxing fan. But if you don't know all those details I've just labelled, you probably wouldn't even heard of them. Like at home, people haven't heard of them. I'm like, how do you not know these boxers? They're unreal.
So the pound for pound rankings, the mythical concept of pound for pound, before this fight, how do you have the top 5?
What, right now?
Right now.
I have Inoue at number 1 because I think he is just so active, and although he hasn't got the same level of wins as a Fury and a Joshua, I just think the way he's dominated for so long, and similarly, people think he's only been around for 2-3 years. He's dominated for 10 years across 5 weight divisions, but he skipped one, so across 4 weight divisions of being a champion.
Undisputed in 2 as well.
Huh?
Undisputed in 2.
Undisputed in 2, yeah. As has Crawford, as has Usyk. It's unbelievable the amount of talent. I'd go on activity and Inoue 1. 2, I'd have Usyk because, I mean, you can make a good case for him being 1. The way he toppled Fury, who was an absolute giant. Joshua, and he's class, and he beats everyone in their hometown, in their home country, or abroad, other than Dubois. So him 2, Crawford 3. Brilliant fighter. Like, I think the Madrimov performance is underrated, and the Spence win and all them other wins as well. Canelo 4, not as good as he was, but definitely still. I can be able to hear that. Canelo at 4, not the force he was, but still a brilliant fighter. So still beating top fighters. And right now, I probably put Beterbiev 5, just the way he's been crushing people. Callum Smith was a very good win, the way he done that. But yeah, whoever wins this fight, they could easily go up to number 1, easily. But with the level of opponent,
hypothetically speaking, if Bivol or Beterbiev win this fight in style, if they do a masterclass performance and it's a shutout win, where would you put them? If that was the case,
I don't know. I mean, because if Beterbiev absolutely cleans out Bivol, right now you would probably say number 1. But he hasn't got the same depth of resume that Usyk has. You know, he's beat Vosnik, great win. Joe Smith Jr., very good win. Callum Smith, good win. But he hasn't got that same resume that Usyk's got, or, you know.
Hasn't changed in weight.
No, he hasn't. No, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not easy for anyone to move up in weight, but it's easier for the smaller ones. Even though they got less weight on their body, they the jumps are smaller. It's like 4-pound jumps. So yeah, I mean, but a new age jump like a mad amount of weight. So, mate, I don't know.
Right, the open workout's about to start now, so we'll crack on. Thank you for your time,
I appreciate it, man. Sorry, I didn't know anything you asked me.